This week on r/AntiMLM.
I have crippling depression.
Stay till the end to find out what happens when New Han at the mall. Jamberry Huns Band A. The Jamberry post from yesterday reminded me of a story from a few years ago of a run-in I had with a consultant, and I thought I'd share, since we're all desperate for non-virus content and human connection. Or is that just me? When I divulge this first piece of information, you're going to immediately understand why this story is juicy. I run my own actual small business, making small batch, reduced chemical nail polish. I am pretty much the natural enemy of Jamberry, and the newer Color Street, Huns everywhere. This was before they themselves started selling nail polish, a fact I cackled about in light of this. Also disclaimer, I swear I'm a nice person, but this woman's selling tactics brought out my inner Real Housewife. This story takes place on a hot July day in Florida, at a local craft show being held in an outdoor field. It's 100 degrees with 98% humidity, and I'm doing the patented cheerleader fun and have to try to keep my makeup intake. Despite the heat, it's pretty busy and I'm trying my best to chat with people and answer questions without evaporating into a cloud of steam at any moment. An older woman I recognize from earlier in the day is looking through my discount stock basket, and I say, "Hello again." She smiles, says she's thinking of picking up a couple shades, because her daughter bought a few earlier and they look fun. Then she comes closer, leans in a little conspiratorially. "Do you know what Jamberry is?" I nod and say yes, trying not to let anything show on my face. She looks to her left, then back at me and says, "There's a Jamberry rep a few rows over." We stopped at her booth, and when she saw my daughter with a bag that said nail polish on it, she told us we would like the products much more, because nail polish is such a hassle and is boring in comparison. I am still trying to maintain an air of professionalism, but I can feel my mouth doing things. She continues, "We looked at her stuff for a bit, but she was pretty pushy, and my daughter ended up telling her that we had a limited amount of money to spend today, so we would have to think about it. And the rep suggested we could always return the nail polish we bought, because she was sure we would be happier with Jamberry." Honestly, I thought it was pretty rude. I think she told us more bad things about nail polish than she did good things about her own stuff. I somehow, by the grace of everything holy, managed to just say, "Well, that's a bummer. I'm sorry you had that experience." My husband is sitting at my booth with me, and I can tell he's ready to take the reins at any moment, lest my head explode. Lucky for me, Jamberry Han only managed to drive this customer back into my nail polish peddling arms, and she buys a few bottles and is on her way. A couple hours go by and I need a break, so my husband takes over while I peruse the rest of the booths. It's not overrun with MLM companies, but I do steer clear of a Mary Kay, a LuLaRoe, and a 31. I buy a couple plant pots from a nice pottery maker, and when I turn around, there it is, Jamberry Hun's booth, right across from me. I have an internal debate about whether or not I should enter the den of cheap nail stickers, and ultimately decide yes, because my husband's not with me to Jesus take the wheel. I walk up to the table she's seated at, tapping away on her phone. A few seconds go by before she looks up, greets me enthusiastically, and then I can see her eyes fall on my shirt. My shirt that is emblazoned with my logo, the exact same one on my shopping bags. I can tell she recognizes it. She's probably been seeing it throughout the day, but she decides to feign ignorance and goes into her selling speech anyway. It's pretty short and she pauses a few times. I can tell she's probably leaving out a bunch of stuff she usually says about why nail wraps are better than nail polish. I stay mostly silent as I look over her displays, wanting to see how she's going to spin this. I smile encouragingly at her as she talks. Apparently at that point she decides to see if I'm a sucker. "I see you sell nail polish. You know, Jamberry would make a great thing to sell at your booth too. People really love our nail wraps and would definitely buy both. And it seems like you already know how to run a small business, so you'd feel right at home with my team of amazing boss girls." We have a lot of knowledge to share. This comment puts me over the edge. Continuing to smile, I say, but wouldn't it be hard to sell both when more than half of Jamberry's pitch is about why nail polish is a boring hassle? Her enthusiastic grin falters. She knows I know, and yet still doesn't decide to punt. Well, our company encourages us to share the challenges and disadvantages that come with using nail polish. But you wouldn't have to say that if you didn't want to, and maybe one day you could afford to just sell Jamberry full-time instead. I stare at her for a couple seconds. I'm actually happy doing what I do now. I make my nail polish myself, so it's essentially my version of art, I say. She bobs her head a little like she's considering what I am saying, then responds with an absolutely oblivious statement. Wow, cool. That sounds like a lot of work though. I do almost all my work from my phone. You'd be saving yourself a lot of time that you could spend with your kids instead. I can tell at this point that she has an answer for everything and somehow can't see how offensive she's being. I'll let a couple silent moments pass before I say, no kids here, so I guess I'm free to continue wasting a bunch of time. We both titter uncomfortably. Well, have a good rest of your day, I say as I turn to leave and don't look back. I'll return to my booth with my pots in tow. My husband side-eyes me and asks, you bought more pots? I nod my head at him.
Are you mad, bro? Tell me what you're mad for.
Yep. But that's all I did. He didn't believe me. Tricked into meeting a friend for drinks.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
About a year ago in my junior year of college, one of my old high school friends texted me, saying he wanted to get drinks and catch up. I was so excited, because we used to be really close, and this was also a chance for me to introduce my foreign exchange friend to new people. I get to the brewery with my friend and wait for him there. He shows up with a laptop. I thought maybe he had some HW to do or would ask for my help proofreading, fixing up a resume or something. I did that a lot in HS and did it if someone asked for help in college too. We have some small talk, we order drinks, I introduce him to my friend, things are going well. I ask him what he's been up to and if he still works at X restaurant. Then he brings out his laptop. He starts the whole speech telling me if I sell enough vacations, I'll get paid to go on trips. Oh boy, my friend isn't fully understanding what's going on, and I'm getting extreme second-hand embarrassment from putting her in this situation. I try to stop him from continuing his speech by saying that I really thought we were just catching up, and we aren't interested in what he's selling. He persists and continues the speech. It was so awkward, I felt so bad for basically making my friend sit through that whole thing. I haven't talked to that friend since.
Do it!
New Han at the mall.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
So, our town mall is pretty small, only about 15 small shops in total. These small shops will, on occasion, sell some MLM product. Paparazzi is the most common. Whilst there's the occasional Han that will come up and try and push whatever it is they're selling, it's usually pretty harmless. A few weeks ago, a lady started selling CBD and Young Living from some cart located a few feet away from the main entrance. I'll usually enter from the back and make my way forward. So about 2 weeks ago, after grabbing some new dice from the game shop, I decide to make my way over to the bookstore, which the first store you see when you enter through the main entrance. Now, here's the part that gets my blood boiling. I have Tourette's, and it's pretty noticeable. While I've made progress, I am still really self-conscious about it, and when someone who I don't already know points it out, I get decently upset. I am barely out of the game store when I have a pretty loud vocal tick, followed with my spine twisting. I see the Han glance over in my direction, but I paid it no mind as a lot of people tend to look. I have a few other ticks before I am about halfway to the Hunt's cart. I should note that I have to pass this cart to get to the bookstore, before she shouts, loud enough for a large amount of them all to hear, "Oh, do you have the Tourette's syndrome? I know just the perfect oil for you." A decent portion of the mall's crowd is looking at me now, so I am pretty embarrassed. Like I said, when strangers point out my tics, I get pretty upset. I end up rushing out, no longer interested in the bookstore. I ended up crying in my car for about 5 minutes before I am collected enough to drive home. Now, that was bad enough, but later that week the mall lets her host a watch part on their Facebook to brag about how amazing her oils are or whatever. And according to a friend, she spent a decent chunk of time retelling the story, but changing the ending from me rushing out in humiliation to me so grateful to her for finding a good treatment for my Tourette's. Said friend has already emailed the mall's management about the issue, but since this happened pretty close to quarantine, I doubt anything will be happening anytime soon.
You are fake news.